What's going on, guys? It's Glenn here. Welcome to my video. Today we're going to be talking about features that I look for in a knife, so stay tuned. All right, let's get this party started. Oh, sorry, let's get the show on the road. All right, okay, guys, so today we're going to be talking about, different features that I look for in a knife. And today we're going to be talking about the features I look for in the knife as well as the sheath. And I know I'm probably going to get a lot of questions later on down in the comments asking, hey Glenn, what are all these knives that you have laid out on the table and what are they called? Stick around until the very end of the video and I'll explain what each of these knives are, what they're called, and all that good jazz, all right? Okay. So, the first feature that I look for in a knife would definitely be the tang of the blade. So, when I say the tang, I mean I look for a full tang blade. So as you can see in this knife right here, the metal from the tip of the blade continues all the way through the handle, and this is a tang that's very, very durable. If the handles were to come off, it's still very functional. I can lash it to, I could take the handles completely off and maybe lash it to a spear or something like that. But the full tang blade is definitely something that I prefer, and it's also less likely to have play in the handle as well. And when I say play, what I mean by that is when you're carving with your knife and the blade's starting to move, it gets crooked, it gets loose, things like that while you're trying to work with it. That's what I mean when I say when it's got play in the handle. Secondly, the second feature that I look for are handles that are micarta handle scales or G10 handle scales. Now, I've tried handle scales that have been made out of rubber. I've also tried handles that are made out of wood. And the thing that I found with rubber is after a while, it gets very, very sticky and just uncomfortable. It almost kind of feels like the handles are almost made out of gum or chewing gum or something like that. Wood is also very, very hard as well, and my hand blisters up and stuff like that. But micarta is definitely a go-to feature for me, because after time, it gets more grippy over time as it gets wet. And I know I've handled this knife in particular with, my hands being like extremely sweaty and wet, and I've been able to grip this thing with absolutely no problems at all. The third feature that I look for in a knife is a lanyard hole. So some sort of way to lash paracord and run some paracord through the lanyard hole. And this is a feature for me. Not all of the knives on the table have this, but this is definitely definitely an important feature and a must-have for me, because I like being able to, wrap the paracord around my hand and have like an additional safety feature. That way, if I accidentally drop my knife, it doesn't hit anybody, I don't lose it, or I don't pop some kid's balloons with it at a birthday party. Not that I would bring a knife with me to a birthday party, I'm just using it to, to make some people laugh. The fourth feature that I look for is a pommel on the knife that's either flat, like this one, or somewhat flat, like on this one. And the reason why I look for a flat, preferably a flat pommel, is so that way when sometimes I'm splitting a log with my knife, I'm batoning my knife, and sometimes it moves, sometimes it gets crooked, and I like being able to adjust it and kind of tap it on the bottom to where exactly I need it to be, so I can split the log nice and even and not have to worry about the knife being crooked. Okay. Also, this actually goes back to the handles again. Handles that are not only made of micarta, but handles that are also somewhat wide as well. So I'm actually so those of you who can't already tell, I've got really, really big hands. And to me, a knife that's got like a really thick and a really durable handle is definitely a must-have for me. And another thing that I also look for in handles as well, as you can tell by this knife right here, it's got a couple of palm swells at the end of it. And I like that feature so that way when I'm using the knife and, you know, like I'm cutting or carving or something like that, my hand is going to stay in place on the handle at all times. It's not going to slip. It's not going to move out. It's just going to stay right in there and be fixed, kind of like a tank. All right. Next thing is blades that are 3 to 6 inches long. So when you have a knife that's too small, you limit your ability to do a lot of rugged tasks like splitting, splitting through logs, batoning your knife, things like that, splitting wood for firewood and for shelters and things like that. But if your blade is too small, then you can't do a lot of detailed carving tasks, such as like making feather sticks, making a figure 4 trap, making traps and snares, things like that. So I tend to find somewhere between 3 and 6 inches is the perfect length for me. That's just the criteria. That's just my opinion. But yeah, those are the things that I look. That's the length that I look for in the knife. And the last feature that I look for in a knife is a knife that's got a pointed tip or a somewhat pointed tip. Whether it's a spear point tip like this, a clip point tip design like this one, or I don't know what kind of pointed tip design this is, but a pointed tip design kind of like this. Reason being is for piercing, for drilling holes into wood, and for also in a self-defense kind of scenario. I've never had one of those happen, but that doesn't mean it'll never happen at all. So those are just some of the basic things that I look for in a knife. Now let's talk about the sheaths. So the first thing that I look for in the sheath is definitely the material that it's made out of and how well the construction of that material is. So I look for leather. I also prefer nylon, plastic, and Kydex. Reason being, I just tend to find that those types of sheaths that are made out of that type of material are just a lot more durable and they'll last you a lot longer over time. So another feature that I look for too is some sort of a pocket, whether it's a pocket that's already attached to the front of the sheath or a sheath that has the option of putting a pocket on it eventually at some point later on, like on this sheath right here. So I like having the option of carrying multiple small tools with me if I have to, if I'm only carrying my knife and very, very little else. So like on this one, I have a ferrocerium rod, if I can get it out. Yeah, I got a ferro rod. I've also got a small pocket knife on the side right here, as well as a whistle. I don't know if you guys can see that. But actually, another thing too, the bigger the pouch, the more stuff you can add into it. So another thing that I also like to add, another thing that I also like to add to my knives is a small Altoids tin, like on this one right here. And I've also got a sharpening stone as well. So yeah, definitely handy. Definitely something I prefer, some sort of pocket on the outside of the sheath. The next thing that I also look for is some sort of a drainage hole at the bottom, with the exception of this leather sheath. I mean, it doesn't have a drainage hole, but I mean, I haven't really had too many problems with water or anything like that getting inside of the sheath. But if I know I'm gonna be in some sort of a wet environment, I've actually got a separate sheath for this knife that I use. The next thing that I also look for as well is a detachable belt loop. In other words, a belt loop, a sheath that's got a belt loop with it and that has the ability to come apart like that. This is so that way it's easier to put on my belt. I don't have to take my belt all the way off in order to put the sheath on. I can just take this apart and I'm ready, put it on my belt and I'm ready to go. which leads me to my next thing, MOLLE straps on the back so I can detach it to a pack if I need to. The really cool feature about this is it actually acts as a second feature too. I can either strap this right to a pack, or I can use this as a belt attachment as well. So those are just some of the things that I look for in a knife as well as a sheath. Lastly, okay, so the knives. What are these knives here that I have laid out on the table? What are they called? So we'll actually start with this one. This one right here is the Blackbird SK5, designed by Paul Schneider. And this is a knife that I actually use pretty much all the time. I use it pretty much 90% of the time. And this is just an excellent knife to have. I mean, it's a simple design. It does a lot of the things that I need it to do. And yeah, it's just a great knife. Absolutely love it. The second knife that I'm going to show you, and this is actually the latest addition to my survival knife arsenal, is this knife right here. And this one right here is the SK1 Elite. Now, the SK1, the original one, the one that was made out of D2 high carbon steel, I actually was originally going to purchase that one, but I actually couldn't find it on the Ultimate Survival. Oh yeah, this is designed by David from Ultimate Survival Tips, and that right there is the logo to the channel. But originally I was gonna get the D2 stainless steel version, but I actually couldn't find it on their website, so I went with this one. And this one's actually a really nice knife. I know there's been quite a lot of controversy about this particular blade. I haven't really had any problems with it. I know I've done things with it. The only real downside I have is the fire steel striker. It doesn't really work that great, but then again, the fire steel that I carry with me all the time has a striker anyway, and that's actually what I prefer to use instead of the back of the blade. The next knife is this one. This is the Apo One, designed by Survival Lily, one of the most gorgeous women of survival that's out there on YouTube. This is a knife that I purchased a couple of years ago. I haven't really used it too much lately, but when I have used it, this is a very good knife to use. Just like the Blackbird SK5, I mean, it's a very simple design. It's very easy to use. Now the next two are these knives right here, designed by ESEE Knives. I'm not exactly sure of the name of the individual who designed these two blades. So if anybody knows the name of the two people who designed these particular blades, please comment down below. I really would like to know who in particular designed these two blades, so that way I can give them a shout out later on. But this knife right here was actually one that I purchased not too long after I purchased the Blackbird SK5. And this is actually really great for doing a lot of rugged tasks such as splitting and things like that. And yeah, this is a knife that I definitely enjoy using. I ended up replacing the original handle scales that it came with just because they were just a little bit too thin for my liking. So I replaced them with these really thick ones from the Knife Connections, and I think it makes the knife look a whole lot more cooler. And the next one is I actually purchased not too long after I purchased my SE6, and that's the SEO Laser Strike. This is a really good knife. It's a very simple design. In fact, I actually used this. This actually replaced this one for a really long time. And I actually kind of miss using it, so I think maybe after I'm done making this video, I think I might, try a few things with it. But this is a very simple design. It's also got a fire steel with some tinder on the inside of the handle as well. It's got a stainless steel. It's got a bow drill divot for like a bow drill fire. And I also really like the Kydex sheath that it came with. And yeah, so anyway, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Now, I'm actually kind of curious, what are some of the features that you prefer, that you look for in a particular knife? Maybe it's something that you could, a tip that you can give me, something that maybe you feel like maybe I missed or maybe I didn't cover in this video. So yeah, please post it down below in the comments. I'm really curious to see what you guys have to say. So anyway, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed making it for you. Sorry, I've been kind of slow lately when it comes to uploading videos, but I'm trying to improve on that. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching, and until next time, stay ready, stay focused, stay strong.